3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Show Me Trucks. Finally back working on the 67. I know it's been, I don't know, at least a year or so since I worked on the 67, but we're back to it. It's a little shortbed C10 that I'm converting to four-wheel drive, so I have some square body axles under it and shortened up a 67 frame, but it actually has square body leaf springs, which is an issue in the front, but whatever. Already dealt with that. This is a front bed panel that I'll be working on today. So this is actually out of an old bed I tore apart a long time ago. I'll try to throw a picture in. And it's a metal floor. So if you have a metal floor front panel, they're actually 3/4 of an inch shorter because that sits on top. And so I need to lengthen that 3/4 so that lip sits underneath the wood. So not a big deal. And then all these bed strips are not what was in this truck before. These are actually of a 67 truck, and they're the wood ones. The wood ones are different, again, different than the metal ones, but these are from California. So clean. I actually just was buying a chassis from a guy, and he just wanted to get rid of them, and it was amazing because obviously my stuff was from Pennsylvania, and it was all rotted out, and I just ended up tossing them, I think. These are what was in it before. These are new. These aren't original. These are repop ones. And then I went and picked up some wood from Lowe's yesterday, and that was unreal. I remember when I did the bed floor a long time ago, I spent $200 on some pine, and I thought that was crazy. Well, it was $300 yesterday, so that was cool. And then stainless bolts. Holy cow! I must have had to cut a couple off or something. I know some of these, when you deal with stainless, a lot of times the nuts kind of gall up on there and get stuck. I just had to buy 2 of those, and I think they were $6 a piece, so that was cool. And then I went and picked up some new washers and stuff, but at least I have all this hardware, because man, if I had to buy all this hardware again, I can't imagine what it's priced at right now. But I know it doesn't have fancy stainless washers and nuts, but it is what it is. At least the heads are stainless. I'm gonna strip all this paint and everything off of here. If you didn't know, this truck was bare metal before, and I actually switched cabs. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna strip it down to bare metal. The stuff that you don't see, I am going to use this oil-based enamel paint. I know a lot of guys are gonna hate on that, but you don't see it. Like all these bed strips that aren't exposed to the UV rays, they're getting that. It's really hard enamel. It's easy to apply instead of buying urethane for something you never see. I just want this to be a cheaper truck. I'm selling it right when I'm done with it. So the easiest, cheapest I can. That way I can keep my price down. That way people actually might have the money to buy it. Let's get to this bed panel. Let's strip it down and get moving. Now it's about 30 minutes each side. I just wire wheeled it later, sand that all down and, you know, scuff it up and try to get all the swirls out and everything before I clear it. But I'm not even close to that. But I did want it stripped just because I'm about to weld on it. I was like, let's just do it all now. But I do need to cut the bottom off. But before that, I'm going to straighten up some of the dents and I'll show you where they're at. The bottom's actually not too bad. You know, usually you'll see these rusted out. But like I said, I need to extend that anyway. So I'm going to cut it right at the corner, and I might actually only extend it about 5/8. And then whenever I weld it, my board will actually kind of cover up that weld seam, and that is the goal. You know, I could cut way up here, weld it, and then there'll be a big seam that I'm gonna have to deal with, and I don't really want to do that, but you can kind of maybe tell, but there's some dings in here. It's kind of a like down a little bit, but the real issue, and the only one I'm really gonna spend a whole lot of time on, is this dent. You can tell it kind of buckled. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna probably flip it around and then clamp each side just to put pressure on it, and then try to hammer these high spots out, and hopefully that pops that dent up in here, and that will also flatten out the panel. The panel is buckled. That's obviously, you can tell that's what's going on. But besides that, this is not that bad. You know, you got a couple little dings in here, but for the front bed panel, you know, you would think these would be beat up because people just throw things loosely in their bed all the time and then hit the brakes and jam it through the back. Let's get to that, see how much we can straighten that out without spending a whole lot of time on it. Obviously, I cut off that edge. The reason I made this line is it's a reference line, so I can measure. If you try to reference from these lines, it's hard, it's rolled, you know. Obviously, I'm using a marker, so it's not that precise anyway. This is the piece I'm gonna use. So basically, since I don't have a metal brake, I wanted a nice crisp 90, so I went and got this 1x1 box tubing, and it looks to be about 16 gauge, 18 gauge, because if I bent that, it's not gonna be as straight. I left about 5/8 on each edge. Now, this panel, again, I thought I was filming, but apparently I wasn't, but I welded that whole seam. You didn't know I usually only use TIG. I need to fill in these holes down here. These are drain holes. What I'm gonna do is hammer and dolly, especially in the middle, and that will stretch that metal out, and that will kind of pull those ends down. I'm also gonna grind this weld down, not perfect, because these boards are about 3/4, and it'll sit right at the top of that weld. So I'm gonna clean it up some, especially on the other side. The other side you could see if you're like nitpicking the truck down, but. Welds in there. The board's about that thick, so you're not really gonna see that. All right, I want to wrap up this video for this week. Not done with either project, the 36 or the bed on the 67, but let me show you where I ended. So I cleaned up the stainless bed strips, just letting this dry over the weekend. I like that paint a lot more than I thought I was going to, but the flat black looks good. And then I cut where the strips sit in, and then I'll cut it sideways. Next week, I just kind of ran out of time today. That means next week will be pretty easy. I don't want to jinx myself, but putting these beds together isn't horrible. Just kind of leave everything loose when you go in. The bed panel's done for the most part. Like I showed you, I drilled all these holes. Depending what's going on with the 36, I'm trying to get it ready for the truck show at Carlisle. I might start working on stripping the back of this frame down, stripping everything down back here so that I could paint it too, because it'd be nice to just put everything on for its last bolt up, you know? So thanks for watching. Sorry I didn't finish, you know? Things take time. So this is the primer that it asked for, I went ahead and spent the money and the time to do the primer. Obviously, it doubles your work by far, but this is the red oxide primer. I did this strip, and today I'm gonna try to do the rest. It is tacky. It is really tacky paint to put on. So you gotta take your time. It likes to drip. You can thin this out and spray it, but like I said, I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. And I probably would do that. Moving forward after this, once I get my air compressor set up, I think it would take way less time to spray everything than it would be to brush paint it. It's just, I think people think that's easier, but it takes a long time because you're trying to get it all the same thickness, but obviously spraying it will do that. Yeah, you can get runs, but trust me, I was getting runs with this. And, you know, it doesn't lay in. Like if you think it's gonna fill in all the pitting and stuff like that, it is not doing that. You could probably sand that, keep doing that, and use it kind of like or filler, but it's under your bed. You don't see these. You don't see these. It's not worth the time, I don't think. But I did like that I could brush it. You know, you don't have to tape off your whole garage. I'm gonna do these. Alright, well, I realized that I lost a ton of footage, so this video might jump around a little bit, but these are the bed seals, all painted. I finished painting these last ones today, so I'm gonna give them the weekend to dry because they turned out pretty good, I thought. I think I'm gonna do the frame the same. You know, there's little stuff here and there, you know. I let all that primer dry for a couple of days. I sanded it down, which kind of got rid of some of the high spots.